Hi guys, today we start the first hour stream, and any uh, any support and any comments is much appreciated. Now I am adding astral origin to our chat. I wrote him on Telegram.
Our guest is coming. We're waiting for you.
How many users are watching now? Nobody is watching us. Okay. So Artyom, now I add Astral.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Please turn on your microphone.
Can you on your mic?
Yes, I think I fixed it, right?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Uh, Let me see. Is this better? Can you see me well?
Yeah, it's better.
Yes, all right. Hi guys. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Um, Wait
We're
a
glad to
second.
see you.
Same here, guys. I'm glad to see the community. I'm looking forward to get to know you guys. I think I saw a couple of artworks of Alex, for example. I'm looking forward to learn more about you guys. Also, your process because yeah, I want to show how I get inspired, how I started working. But I'm interested how you guys take this process. You know, for me, it's also very interesting. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know you better.
Okay, but at the moment I think that your art is much technologically better and even some complicated. And one little, uh, let me see how this word would be in English. Request. Can you speak not so quickly for better understanding to us?
Yes, all right. Yeah, I wanted to ask that with the audio quality is good. I hope that the microphone is now switched to my Bluetooth earpiece and not like connected to something else also. And is the volume good? Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes, sound is good.
All right. Awesome.
Okay. So I will start from myself. My real name is Alex, and alias Avistin Code. I am not an artist guru or something like that. I've been drawing for 3 or 4 months even. And Artyom is professional musician and photographer.
Mm, good. Interesting. Cool.
Uh, yes. So and the aim of this stream is to co-working and make knowledge more uh, accessible, even not
Hmm.
for us, but maybe for everyone who will watch or is watching this stream. Uh,
Awesome.
can you say a few words? What is your real name?
Yeah, all right. Hi guys, I'm Andre. I have experience working as a graphical designer, interaction designer, game designer, everything with technology and interaction. But right now, under the alias of Astral Origin, I'm trying to visualize what I get inspired by, for example, from math and what kinds of structures you can draw with math. For example, fractals. Um, One day I just learned that you can draw trees with mathematical calculations and formulas.
Mm-hmm.
And I then thought, okay, if this is possible in 2D, would it also be possible in 3D? And yes, guys, everything's possible. Like eventually, even rather realistic trees drawn only by math. I was always excited about like how can math be so beautiful, so inspiring, you know? So I try now to delve into the my artistic side, and I try to use inspiration from nature, from mathematics, to create visuals that I find are that can be impactful just by knowing like this is where there's a lot of it like based on math and science and stuff. I'm totally no art guru either, like Alex you said before. This is really also the artwork. The only artwork I published right now in a couple of variations is the first artwork, for example, I ever published on platforms like Instagram. I have never published any artwork before, so this is also a new exploration for me, and I'm really looking forward to dive more into it and get to know the space, the community, and also share the knowledge, like you mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think it's an important piece.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Very interesting viewing because I also like trees. I like take photo and draw trees, and
You
it's cool.
mhm. You remind me Russell Crowe from Beautiful Mind. So the first part of this movie, uh, and why, how long have you do had how long you have interest for this mathematical direction in your art from childhood
Um,
or uh, several years before?
mm, I would pretty much from my childhood, without even like knowing, I saw fractals. I could like recognize, this is this kind of art piece. I thought it was some kind of style, some kind of trend or whatever, or based on some work. But one day, my brother is IT specialist, and he's involved a lot with technology. He told me like, um, this is all based on math and formulas, and I was kind of, yeah, blown away by that. Like, but then I had no clue or idea how to start using formulas to create something of my own or try to visualize. Then I didn't also know anything about 3D graphics. Um, it was even before I started using Photoshop. It was that long ago. But in the last years, I learned a lot. I'm totally no math guru either, but the minimum amount I learned about formulas, how you can influence 3D graphics thanks to mathematical formulas, um, I found my I was exploring my kind of style in what kind of visualizations I like and what kind of paths I wanted to take. Some of them are, for example, trying to simulate parts of the galaxy, the like space, but some other parts are trying to replicate, thanks to mathematical formulas and using colors, trying to create a visualization of what another habitable planet could look like out there in the universe. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
that's what kind of inspiration path I'm looking at.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting. Maybe you using numbers of Fibonacci for art. Yeah.
Yes, also, maybe we have a lot of us have heard about using the golden ratio, or
Oh
that
yeah. Hmm.
like big artists, even in old paintworks, they used the golden ratio. Even like there are an analysis on the Mona Lisa that everything is based on the golden ratio, but that the golden ratio also comes often in nature, like things like Fibonacci sequence, like even a sunflower has it, but also so many other plants and creatures. Um, that's also something that I learned along the path, like between my childhood and recent years. There are many formulas which come very often. There are many patterns in nature. And since we are also part of nature, and a lot of things which we create, it's called often biomimicking. We try to emulate things based on nature, but with some kind of benefit for us. And a lot of times, we see that nature has found an efficient way to do things, and that's why even us as people, as civilizations, we make things that don't come in nature, like rockets and stuff, for example. But a lot of other things we do base ourselves on the laws of nature. There's like no surrounding it.
Hmm.
And sometimes the laws of nature are more efficient to follow than to try like go against the stream, um, and find other ways.
Mhm. Can you repeat, please, the term which you used? Bio. Uh,
Mimicking. M- I Yeah, I hope I'm saying it right. Biomimicking. If you Yeah, if you want, I can try to show you a couple of examples. But I like the fact that you said Fibonacci sequence. That's something even less known about, I have the feeling. But the people who know also know, like, there, it's also in a lot of things. Right now, I'm also trying to find my way to use those formulas, those golden ratios, like as a reference. But more and more, I want to incorporate, like, literally things visually from visualizations, renders of 3D fractals straight into my artwork. But I'm right now totally in the beginning of my process. Right now, I'm looking for ways how to use it as a reference, um, to build upon. And in the future, I aim at really bringing those formulas straight forward into my artwork and try to inspire others to. Um, I think a lot of the backstory behind every art piece makes the art piece itself also much more interesting. If you know, like, what inspired the artist to make an artwork, or if you know, like, what process he took, I think it gives much more depth into your acknowledgement of the artwork, of your understanding of the piece, of what you can feel to for it. Um, uh, and I hope to inspire others by bringing those formulas based on things that I discover. If you maybe saw somewhere my profile, I often try to put there that often I think that art is similar to math, that we discover formulas that are efficient, beautiful, whatever, that inspire us instead of that it's a creation of ours. We discovered some kind of formulas. It's not like we made it ourselves. The knowledge is already existing. It's us who need to discover it. Yeah, voilà.
it is a very interesting thought, I think.
I want to ask you, what kind education do you have?
Um, okay. Before I finished my high school, it's called, I was like interested already in real-time visualizations, 3D buildings, beginning with the basic things, but also like coming from a graphical design perspective, I was straightforward looking for solutions. Like, how can I do this? Like, for example, helping um, a jeweler visualize his products in a more interesting way. It was like very specific end goal, but yeah, compared to now, I try to completely like stay open, without any rules to what the end
Uh-huh.
piece should be. So that was in the beginning, like, I come from a straightforward, if I need to have this end result, how can I get there? That was before I finished my high school. So I was interested in 3D things. I was also playing around with modding games, like putting my own items in games that are made by other people, like private servers, running a private server, so other people can join your server. So I was interested in creating games, if you can summarize it like that. And I found in college, I went to study communication and multimedia design with a specification game art and design. Um, there I learned a lot about art, history, color theory, um, also, yeah, interaction design. There's a lot to learn about that, like how to get someone's attention for your work, whatever it is, a mobile application, a website, or a game. And with a game, it's maybe much more, uh, it has to be so engaging that they like feel present in a virtual world. And if you look at great game designers, they eventually succeed at it. And I found it always very interesting how a visual interactive story can make us feel like we are in this other world with whatever rules. If it's slow motion, if it's super action, doesn't matter who you are, your inner yeah, you can immerse yourself in it and live by like yeah, for a short amount of time to live in that world while you're playing it. Visual stories, movies, it's something that can be so engaging, and I think that it's very inspiring. But um, also, any good movie, I think, is like a masterpiece of a lot of great creators. Like if you have a really, really good movie, often there is some of the best of the composer's work together with great directors, together with great writers, together with great um, actors, special effects people creating the sets, a lot of great artists who are really on top of their skill, making one masterpiece together. I found that always very interesting, and I love the fact that during college, for example, we had the time to create projects, sometimes with groups, and I think that like this special atmosphere that gets created in a group when you have one single goal in a short amount of time that you all want to accomplish, and everyone has his own perspective, his own knowledge, his own experience, his own taste. And if you all want to achieve a similar goal, I think that's a moment where a lot of magic can happen.
Mhm.
Interesting. Now I work in this movie. I write music for movie, and
Mm, cool.
very interesting to hear about that from you. Um,
Mhm. Is it important for you which with you will probably work in the future in the game industry or movie production or simply making industry design or maybe you prefer one single direction or all those categories are important for you and you try uh, to distinct your power and energy and all those spheres.
Um, honestly, it was a very long path of learning for me. Um, I mean, I was always like looking for ways to maybe help someone by providing my services to him or her or the company, but also looking for, in the same moment, also to learn something new or try to improve something that I was already trying to be get better at. Um, from the really honestly have to say I think I learned most from the moments when I worked at the project from intrinsic interest. Like I wanted to bring something of value from my own to the project. A lot of times I wasn't even getting paid for it. If I think about the moments when I really truly got the chance to improve or grow from it, because a lot of other times when it's a very specific company, they need a very specific flyer, poster, CD cover, whatever. Um, but with CD covers, it's something else because I have the feeling like if you work with artists, it has its own flavor to it than with agencies, let's say. Um, but I couldn't say I have learned a lot during like the whole process, and I couldn't say like if someone's music I really like that I didn't want to make album art for him because I moved on to 3D graphics or whatever. I would maybe look for a way to use my style or my knowledge or my skills to make an album cover for a person in a way maybe that I haven't seen before. Or yeah, try to like impress with a thing that I stand behind, like I told you before, like visualizations of the mathematical and the metaphysical. Um, I cannot say like right now like that I wouldn't want to design anyone's uh, mo help build something for a movie because like I'm more interested in more game design, game art and design. Um, I have not made anything for any movie yet, so I think I have a lot to learn from in that category, for example. But yes, I have designed a lot of flyers and business cards, so that's maybe a path that I am trying to be less involved in. Um, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
What your favorite artist? Who inspire you?
Can I tell you in broad terms? Because I think there are a lot of awesome digital artists. My problem is I don't know a lot of them by name, like first name, last name. But if you show their pieces, oftentimes even though I follow them on ArtStation, or other platform, I save their images just so I have like with me. But in the name of the image, I always write like the name of the artwork and the artist, so I can always look back for it and always find it. But I'm also very getting. I have a lot to learn. Like I had lessons in college about art history and more, but there are like Polish artists, for example, Beksinski. Sometimes he makes dark art,
Uh-huh.
but other times he achieves a completely different contrast, like even try to trigger your curiosity or imagination by having a dark themed surrounding with a very colorful element to it, and that element shines even brighter compared to thanks to the contrast to the surrounding. Besides that, fantasy artists like Noah Bradley, for example, Jonas Dro. I followed Jonas Dro a lot. I learned a lot, like from many digital artists, from their process, even to little things like Photoshop brushes. I think that's the awesome thing about this community we're in. There is a lot of giving back and paying it forward or sharing knowledge thanks to a lot of artists who are giving a lot of knowledge. I learned a lot about them, how they achieve their artwork to a great level. Dan Luvisi, for example, I hope I'm saying it right. Dan Luvisi, he has the book. Was it Last Man Standing? Yes, very inspiring artist. But he also makes like artworks based on characters like the Muppet Show, like Pikachu, and he blends like them in a completely new way, in a completely new style that I always find um, yeah, triggering. It's like very interesting to look at. Like I've never seen Pikachu in this way. Like people also often does like the current themes, for example, he puts it in such a bizarre way that sometimes you have to look like 5 to 10 times. Like, well, what is everything going on in one art piece, for example, by people? Um, and then always looking at their process, it's even more inspiring. I find there's a lot of knowledge. I think no one artist knows all the software in the world, and I find it very interesting to learn how they get to their results, how they even start working on it, like what are the fundamentals for them, because there are, for example, very specific thing, there are many artists who start with um, grayscale, like lights and shadows, um, but there are all other artists who immediately start with a thick brush full of color, and I would think in myself, like being not so yeah, maybe fluent in painting fully with color. I'm a little more hesitant maybe because I have no clue like what the end result would be, but that's like my enough thing I'm trying to improve. Like, how do you start immediately painting with color? How do you know your next step? And sometimes from learning from other people, I get even more inspired by them by thanks to knowing how or why they do the things they do. I think that's also a very important part of any artwork, and especially for me, it gives much more depth into what I think about their art pieces. Um, there are many names of digital artists living right now that I really admire, and I'd love to name them, give them by name, but um, I wouldn't be good in saying their names, and most of the time it wouldn't be right. But I always follow them. I always encourage them. I think that's also part of being in the community. You have to let someone know if you really like their art pieces. I think it, yeah, it gives some kind of connection, but also if it's authentic, that's always important because, for example, I'm also indirectly maybe looking for inspiration or people um, who in the future I would dream about collaborating together on a work piece, for example. That would immediately inspire me even more just by thinking about it.
Sure, man, we'll try it. It is
Do you guys wanna share your inspirations?
uh, of course, I can. For example, me. I started with a pencil, different small drawings, and then suddenly I stopped it. I draw for maybe it was it were small sketches on paper with a simple pencil. Then I tried a pen. Um, I can't recall how the exact name how this pen is called. But then lately,
What?
Artyom presented me a bunch of pencils.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Now I see it.
Yes, refine. Maybe
For the
some.
real artists, specialized tools.
And I made almost nothing with them.
How
Unfortunately.
how come?
So, and more than that, I stopped almost art in general for maybe for a year, and didn't return there. Uh, and then I tried, but of course looked. I really interested in artworks, and I know very a few. For example, Kandinsky. Artyom advised me, and I really liked it, and I think it is one of the most greatest artists. And not much time ago, I saw Pollock. Really beautiful artworks.
Mm.
So it
Um,
it has nothing same with digital art, I think. But you see, one interesting thing thought I realized for myself, and I think everybody agree, that art is everything. And even when you said you look you uh, let me see when you perceive this beauty of trees or in nature, because as you said, fractals, of course, in
Everything.
in everything, yes, uh, from sea, from marine inhabitants to space, and so I think that all our knowledge accumulates during the whole our life, and in some time I just opened Adobe Illustrator and make made several. I almost don't didn't wasn't familiar with the software.
yeah.
I knew Photoshop, and I tried Illustrator and made.
Can I ask you there something?
Of
How
course.
did you learn about Illustrator?
Uh,
How did you get into it? Did you get find someone else who was working on it and you were also interested in trying out, or how did it go?
um, so I didn't look for a book or lessons, but I recalled that I graduated from one technical university in our city in
Mhm.
Ukraine, and we had several lessons with it, but it was 2 years ago maybe, or even
Mhm.
more, and I knew the basics. But maybe the greatest advantage of Adobe software is that is some similar with each other, and
Mm.
I did almost the same things, and of course I knew that this software is for vector graphics, and
Mm. Yeah.
and made one sketch. Um, hmm,
Can I ask you, is
of
that the
course.
one like with purple colors that you made and also a short video, an animation? Is that the one,
No.
for example? That's the
Uh,
last one I saw on your Instagram.
uh,
That's the last one I liked. Um, I was just curious, like, the vector graphics. It's good that you say it because, um, yeah, maybe a lot of people take it as natural, but guys, vector graphics for me it was mind blowing to know, like, oh, everything I paint here, I can resize as much as I want, but why? Because it's also based on mathematical formulas. How crazy is that?
yeah, but
So actually, you have also experience with using, but maybe also indirectly, but it's a part of many technologies to make things, visualize things, even in 3D. It's like the connection between 2 points. And a 3D model, it doesn't matter if it's like 1 meter by 1 meter or 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It's the same model
hmm
eventually. Um, I don't know. I think it's a very interesting thing. Like, also, if we think about Artyom in the music, I was always interested in like basic music whenever I could find something to like play a little with music. Even FL Studio a long time ago, I've been playing with like music making software. But if you learn notes and stuff, there's a lot of math also behind it. If you
Yeah,
even try to, right?
right. It's all mess. I working in Reaper and working as sound engineer, and
Mm,
also I playing on guitar jazz, and
mm,
uh, in
cool.
jazz very a lot of mess, but uh, I bad in mathematics, and I inspire from my soul, from my feelings. But
Yeah.
now I more deeply, um, I try and more deeply study jazz harmony and understand that all this is mathematics.
Mm. It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
I just find it always interesting. Like we are surrounded by math and formulas and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um,
And
I
strange
just
and
find it really.
difficult for me.
Oh yeah, for me too. I couldn't even explain most of the time what I'm doing with the fractals. I just love to manipulate them.
Mhm. I think that this fractal technology is our future, but sometime I tried to learn uh, what is a competitive for Unity 3D, Unreal
Oh yeah.
Engine, and
Yeah.
mhm. And I saw some short video when they said that th- this and future versions of that engine will allow you to feel the deep or the virtual world, and this fractal technology allows it, so you can zoom in more and more, and the detailization of the picture will still be uh, very very cool and
Right. Mm,
and is real. So I think that maybe in
that's
five
crazy.
5 or 10 years in
Hmm.
and we will all jump to VR spectaculars, and
Mm-hmm.
because it will be our everyday vacation, I think. It,
Mm-hmm.
it is our future without doubt, but maybe the question is how quickly it will be. We or our children will use it more. It is very interesting questions with fractals, and you touched uh, the theme which connects with not only with art but with science, with nature. I think uh, with a lot of things in our life.
Yeah. About the technology, I'm really looking forward to. Like, I believe there is a way. We only haven't discovered it, right? To have infinite detail in game engines, for example. But also, if I'm not mistaken, there was one like 10 years ago or something that they showcased. Yes, this is our engine, infinite detail, this and that. But eventually, it's not here yet. Too bad for us. In the future, yeah, like I said, our children, they will be able to like take an afternoon to a virtual fantasy world that right now for us is even hard to imagine. I mean, right now we're speaking through Zoom. Zoom is rather recent, development in the technology, but like there were video calls, this and that. But this most recent application in video calling, for example, but in the future we will maybe be like 3D avatars on a spaceship in a visualized galaxy, flying through a galaxy where a lot is based on these technologies that we don't have access to right now. But maybe some kind of advancements in the coming years will have a result that the change would come even much more quicker than we imagine. I mean, there are already many interesting decentralized games, I shall call, like games in which even or VR games in which you could lose yourself for a day or two, just by exploring the surrounding. Even the most basic things are so wonderful to look at. And all of that thanks to also a lot of things, but also our ability to immerse ourselves into this avatar in this other world based on completely different laws, visuals, and things what you can do there, what you can't do here and now. I think it will be very exciting in the
Yep.
future.
By the way, what's your favorite game? As for me, my favorite games was Diablo,
Mhm.
Lineage. I very like it MMORPG games, but now
Mhm.
I have not time to play.
Mhm.
But it's my
Same.
favorite games.
Um, um, yeah, for me, honestly, Diablo is also on top, but also, yeah, like in the past, MMORPGs was for me very interesting. But I could also enjoy me some good arcade racing games, but also like shooters like Counter-Strike. It was also a thing on its own, you know. If you play a MMORPG, that's something else than if you play like Counter-Strike. I don't know, especially if you have your own couple of friends who you can play with. That's completely another thing, I think. Or even people you don't know with. If the community is good, um, it does a lot about the experience. Most recently, yeah, just like you, Artem, I I'm not getting a lot into it, but yeah, I'm still influenced by it. You know, I watch videos by very good YouTube creators, for example, about games, and I love their perspective on story, this and that, without spending or having to spend so many hours, just because right now I can't invest those many hours into it. Um, but not because I don't love it, that I wouldn't love it, for example. Um, yeah. And what about you, Alex?
Uh, I really loved World of Warcraft. I
Mm-hmm.
played it a lot, but one interesting moment I noticed about myself that despite of my friends, I can't stop. So I play and play, and when I even don't play, and for example, when I studied at university, I think, or at school, I thought about a game uh, always, so every time, and I. Uh,
Yes, I also play to uh, all nights and maybe to
Mm.
4 p.m.
mhm.
and oh, 4
That's crazy,
4
right?
p.m. Yeah, yeah, it's
Even
crazy.
even if
It's
we
like
would get
drugs.
paid, even if we would get paid to do something, we wouldn't do that. But to like feel immersed in this world, we would give a lot of our sleep, and maybe even a lot of our health for it. It's really crazy.
Yes, and yes, if we will if we would take our energy which we spent on not useful things and translate it in others, so all we would be great artists or musicians or photographers
Mm.
or somebody else. So uh, continuing my story, I stopped playing because of my huge involvement in those games, and that's all. But in the soul, I always love WoW, and
Mm.
it is this game made uh, uh, pleasant dreams
Mhm.
for myself,
Mhm.
and I thankful for developers for this another virtual world. Uh, thank him a lot. But at the moment I draw, and you see, and one more interesting thing that as you said, we always find something another, something more interesting or more uh, or even more opposite. Or, uh, I think that so we have short life, and if you uh, if you found uh, the thing or the sphere which you want to master as long as you can, so it is very cool, and I think those people are the happiest people in the world, so they
Mm.
can master and master every day, and they like this thing. But for example, when you don't feel that this or that direction is right, so uh, it is important to try always something new, and even it is right even in the in one direction, or for example art, because art is different. You can you can draw with paints, or you can draw in digital software. You can, for example, when we are look in the digital direction, we can draw as you with fractals, with vector graphics, or with
Mm.
mm, or with raster,
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so on. So so our life is changing, and we always need our life consists of changes, and we uh, must even or have to choose the one we love the most.
Yeah. We have to grow to become our ultimate selves, right? If
Yeah.
Ultimate uh,
uh,
who
uh, we have to grow into becoming our ultimate selves. Yeah, maybe you can find in it like not trying to become someone else or whatever, but also grow fully into yourself.
yes, yes,
Like
yes.
even for example, even for a tree, even if there is a lot of things blocking it, eventually it will always find a way to grow around it. Nature just does. And if we forgot that we are part of nature, then it's yeah up to us to remind ourselves that no matter what, we have to go past it to ultimately grow into becoming more of ourselves, our ultimate selves.
Yes. So we asked you a lot of questions, and the only thing I want to ask you to is to show the small part of your process. It isn't important to see the whole way of you doing your art, but maybe
Yeah.
some tips or something useful for those who will watch this video. Mhm.
All right. I would love to show you guys like a complete process, but really oftentimes I didn't think about documenting the process. I'll just say it like that. But I have a couple of things I wanted to share. Do we have how much time do we have for this? Just to know how much I should try to show you.
I think that half an hour
Yeah.
we have, and 30
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, I'll try to not do that like take another 30 minutes of your times, guys. Are you interested in like my first like I can't call it art pieces because in the beginning it was more like really the focus was to progress or to try to combine everything I know. Just like with Lunar Tiger, the only art piece I ever published on Instagram. It's not like I only discovered Instagram. I just never used it, for example, especially not to. No, I actually no, honestly, I never published any pictures. The only picture I uploaded was this art piece.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, I was previously active on Facebook a long time ago, but I just like stopped publishing everything. I was kind of focused completely on trying to improve. I was also participating in game jams, like hackathons to make your own game. And if there is like a developer, 2D artist, concept artists, it's very wonderful to be in again in this kind of group with creative mentality and a similar goal. I think it's really It's a very bizarre time right now in history overall everywhere in the world. But when everything comes back to normal, I would really advise everyone to try to join a game jam or other art event to try to collaborate with other people. I think it will inspire you. It will push you to grow out of your comfort shell, maybe to try things and to try uh, to create things with other people. Um, I'll just show you an example. But especially if you do like the game, you do only a small part of it. So, for example, I was oftentimes like the visual artist kind of guy who puts everything together in a scene in a game engine. For example, like Alex said in Unity, I love that game engine because it's just so multi-platform. It's so easy to get into, um, and easy to learn from. Um, I have many like yeah, I have worked on some projects of my own. Too bad that I can only show you screenshots right now, but I'll try to walk walk you through it by talking about it while I show you, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I will switch over my camera. Um, okay, oldest. These are like really first pieces where I try to learn things from. Wait, I'll try to do it like very raw. Those were like art challenges we did ourselves with our own little community online and from college. Um, I hope it looks rather a little bit interesting to be one of my first digital works in Photoshop. I just love that we're trying to do things very simply that if you like zoom out, okay, there's something going on, at least, for example, I was experimenting with shapes, with colors. Nothing is anatomically correct, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
I was just experimenting, trying to find inspiration in shapes, in colors. But this is really um, 8 to 10 years ago, I think.
Oh.
Um,
Wow.
Wait a second. Yeah. This, for example, I learned a lot because I hope you can see it well. These are really very rough. How should I say? Strokes. Yeah, these trees and stuff. I learned very efficient and easy ways to do it. Um, Thanks to, for example, artists like Jonas Ro, I followed him completely. This whole process. Um, yeah, I'll try to look out. Yeah, that's the oldest work. After that, I tried to yeah, I also got a drawing tablet, a very simple one, but then I learned to like try to draw things I like more. This is more in Unity. Um, what is it? Yeah, actually, this is an interactive piece, but I experimented with materials, with shaders, textures, what you can do with simple shapes, and I used that to like make a mobile game
Runner.
in which you can like yeah, in which you can like look around while you can go ahead. That was a mobile application that was during college years. Um,
Mhm. I'm sorry. I will.
right now,
That
yeah,
will interrupt you. You.
yep.
Uh, this game is available now, or you deleted it?
No, this was a school assignment. I didn't. Honestly, I have. Just to summarize really quickly, there is a lot that goes into making a game. I have so much respect for people who like completely can create a game in their own, like develop and do the art themselves. But for me, it's really difficult. I was always trying to learn programming to make my artwork at least interactive, for example, um, or really focusing on making a 3D platform runner, for example, and trying to implement all kind of artwork I can try to make it look more like, yes, it could be eventually a real game. But honestly, no, I have always contributed to making a game. Yeah, this was a mini game, also school assignment. This we did with, let me see, five people, if I'm not mistaken, at my college. It's yeah, it was like a joke game, also made on a game jam we organized in school ourselves. We have filmed it actually. There was live streaming, but we had no real following who was looking at it, for example. But it was also like part of collaborating project at college.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One was doing the background work, the other was doing the shader, thanks to which, because this is, yeah, also being in games, everything has to be real time. And also, this was a mobile game. And also participating in this kind of projects, I learned a lot to afterwards do things that I will show you a little bit later if it's okay. I'll try to, yeah, for example, this. Um, I'll try to show you quickly a video where it's running in real time. Um, because I based my thing, yeah, I will try to show it better too. Like this, the upside, a lot of it is based on yeah, fractals, deformed fractals you can call. But then I like made it so that it yeah eventually looked like Protoss from StarCraft, for example. It was more like fan art for uh, for uh, Protoss. It's a race in this game. So this was from based on this. This is a video, but this what's happening is like the lighting is changing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a bit of the lighting changing. This is screen captured from Unity also. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, I had to learn a lot to um, come to this stage, you see. And eventually back then I didn't really know how to make all the effects and stuff, everything like you see here on this screen. So I was trying to improve by doing. Yeah, I learned a lot by just experimenting, by collaborating with other people on their projects. I'll try to see. Um, this, yeah, I made an application which I really want to publish. It's, you know what? I will try to show it on the computer. Um, this is just my plant, um, and it multiplies the image like it makes it actually hexagonal. It's a camera effect you have probably seen somewhere already, and I wanted to use that to put in a mobile application because I found it very inspiring. I'm trying to open it on another screen. I hope it works.
So you did it
Uh-huh.
for a mobile
Okay.
application, or you
Um,
developed all this mobile application?
um, I developed it,
Oh.
but it's not like I'm absolutely no I couldn't be a full-time programmer, for example, but I learned a lot to be able to make things that I found inspirational. For example, this I found it very. This is one of the effects that the application makes, and yeah, it moves like with music. There's a lot of things happening with music. Yeah, I'm looking forward to publish this one day, this application. But really, I'm no developer. I'm more like trying to hack things to get to where I want to get.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's why I love people who share their knowledge. There's a lot of code, open source. You guys have heard that, but that means that the source is openly available. You can just go in and try to learn about the code and then use the code you need and build on top of it. I think that's one of the many great things in creator communities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is also made during a game jam. Game jam means like 48 hours. I was in a team of three, three or three people, three or four people, if I'm not mistaken. One was I had to do the programming. The other was doing like yeah the models. The other was texturing them. And this was a game where you could like make light pop up and do other things, create rooms out of thin air. But it's really buggy. It yeah, it only was playable in the parts that we demonstrated to people. Like not all the functions were properly working how it should have been. But yeah, learned a lot from it. This too I created here. I was, if I'm not mistaken, I was here also doing the scripting and shaders, like visual effects, like the models did someone else. That was also collaboration during college. Um, this I made like yeah, my very first complete car model. Like every 3D modeler has to model a car for some reason. Um, yeah, the yellow logo was the logo of my school. I made this eraser in which I showed a couple of things in 3D that I made, like my interactive portfolio. There you can see like Atomium. It's like the most popular structure in Belgium, for example. On the left is the logo I use for the name Disati as graphic designer. Yeah, that's also some old work. I would love to show it to you interactively, but really too bad that I should find everything to publish it someday, because I have a lot of things to share. But I haven't published a lot of it because it was very specific. This is another fan art for yeah, Blizzard StarCraft, just fan art. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Facebook or an ArtStation community event, like fan art for some kind of game. I think it was ArtStation. I'm not sure anymore. Um, the model, that was also the first time that I like took a uh, manipulated fractal, exported like the model in low resolution, and I used this model as the level. I did not 3D model this bridge, for example. It is also based on formulas, but I'm not really good at formulas, and that's why there's a lot of defects. But yeah, there's a lot of room to improve. Um,
I'm
oh,
sorry,
yeah,
but
yeah.
this is a static art or uh, so I see that this image is in a raster, but if
Yeah.
but as you see, as you said, it consists of fractals. So in source artwork, if we will zoom, it will almost have has no ending.
Um, no, the thing is, yeah, the source itself, I could render a 3D fractal from it without any like loss of detail, for example. But the thing here is that I didn't know a lot about it back then. I just those were the first steps of me implementing 3D surroundings of based on a fractal kind of thing. Um, for example, I will switch quickly to another more clear fractal. This, for example, if you know fractals, maybe this might look somewhere more similar. But then I try to manipulate it to have some kind of style and color. Um, and by um, 1 second, for example, I'll quickly have a look. Yeah, for example, this level, it, actually, it's the inside of one of these holes in this 3D model that I liked very much, and I exported a fractal into a 3D model. But it was very low resolution, as you can see here. It was very blocky, but still, I found it interesting, and I was playing around with it to see what kind of things I can find in it, what kind of patterns I can find in it. Um, so this, for example, it is an export of a fractal, but just like with files in Illustrator, for example, the base file based on vectors is based on mathematical formulas, thanks to which you can like export in very big sizes, this and that. But when you export, you're working with rasters, for example, and that's why the resolution um, becomes limited
Mm-hmm.
when you export things. This is an exported piece, for example. I will try to show you to the 2D thing, um, in what kind of way I used it. Okay, for example, this and this. This was a concept I wanted to make like yeah, my own interactive story. I was writing a backstory for it and I was making visuals for it. This is like just concept, but in the game engine, with a very basic art, this and that. And from experimenting, getting knowledge from fractals, I learned to put uh, the fractals into use with more like visuals, because this is also based on a fractal. I just learn to manipulate it to make it look like something that fits the narrative. And when you see here, it's this, but this is a very resolution export of it. While this I learned to use in a completely different way. But every small detail I had to learn a lot from, like the backdrop, which is more like nebulae kind of background, like the small particles, um, smoke animation. I had to learn everything to create it, but also to bring it all together, because this is also I can show it to you in the game engine. It's not a game. Yeah, it's like um, an interactive story I was working on. I'll try to show you some. a very early concept art I had made for it. Yeah, it was like yeah, some kind of alien species, but colors like pattern based visuals, this and that, and focus on yeah, getting there by special effects. Um, I'll try to yeah, and these were things that uh it's not the best 3D graphics you have ever seen, but for me this was already a big challenge. I wanted to make like you could you could explore this level that I was based on an idea I had that is part of this virtual story. You could like fly around in it. For example, here are these 3D models are inside the game engine that that are based on fractals, and
Mm-hmm.
I will show you in the interactive story if you want. But this is also an experimentation. This is also very low resolution model, honestly, because this small cube repeats in this big cube, and it repeats in this huge big ass cube, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to make pattern based 3D models, and the pattern is also based on math. Um, one second, I'm trying to find.
I
Yes.
also want to ask you, uh,
Yeah.
so did you didn't publish these works on ArtStation or other site because
Mhm.
because it seems like you made great art,
Mm.
really professional art, and you keep it on your hardware, on your PC.
Yeah.
But I think it must watch, and of course if it is not personal things, um, and you can share it, but it is worse and mass watching for I think every artist, for example, on a Hive.
Mm-mm.
So you didn't publish it.
Some pieces I have published it, but again, like under this name, Sati. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really but not everything. Most of the things I have not published. But ArtStation, I had a couple of things, but also like I had to publish a lot of things connected to my college, this and that. So we had to make our own portfolio. But really, Instagram, like trying to get a following for the things that I do, I have not taken the time to share it in that kind of way. But I think you're right. I think it's a must. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like doing my baby steps in publishing my things, and I want to give credit where credit is due, and I eventually will have to probably contact some people to ask, like, is this right that we were working on this together? Because there's a lot of things, but all of the experiences are so memorable because it's a whole experience. To make an artwork for yourself, you can really easily remember the process. But if you do it with other people, it becomes an experience on its own, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Um, okay, this is, for example, also, this is visualization also based on fractals, for example. I did not, I did absolutely not model all of these stones. I just gave in like the I manipulated fractals, really gave every kind of formula to try to achieve visualization, which came more closely linked to what I wanted to show because I'll show you another thing. This is also an artwork I made. It was during college, also for one or other task. It was like concept art, for example. But if you make something like this, yeah, you have to be inspired. You have to find ways to do it, this and that. But afterwards, I thought like, what if I could be one of these ships? How cool would that be?
Yep.
And just the thought alone was so inspiring, and I thought like, wow, but what if I can really make my own world? This is totally not a clean art piece or whatever, but the overall picture, if that inspires me, I hope it does also to other people. Um, Here's some very basic concept art, very basic. Level design experiment, like what if there is some kind of like puzzle on all the that all the islands are connected with some kind of link that power uh, thanks to which they can float, this and that. I was really exploring all kinds of things inspired by pyramids and a lot of old Egyptian artworks. Yeah, it was a whole process. And in the end, I made like a level in which you can fly through. Yeah, also a spaceship. It's also obligated to make a spaceship, but also like the first spaceships that I learned to model is was specifically for this to go somewhere more than to not have only this to
Mm-hmm.
base on, you know. So I had to learn to make a spaceship. I always liked drawing spaceships, but to model them, that's something else. This is a early screenshot, yeah, with a placeholder model, also placeholder for this island because, like, you could see, um, like you could see here afterwards, it was a lot more complex model, but I hadn't found the right resolution yet to be able to run it. Some very basic, ugly ships. Yeah, all of these were really experiments. I'm just going to close this. Okay, this I'm also going to close. I will show you. Uh, Okay, since I'm already here, I'll try to show you, yeah, what inspired me to work further on it, and then I was looking for a way to try to connect, um, yeah, make some kind of interesting um, level design in it, try to find like what would be an interesting way to interact in this world, but give the feeling like, whoa, I am this spaceship pilot on this alien planet, just to try learn to make something that already feels like, ah, yeah, okay, this is a spaceship flying through an alien planet. Okay, I can believe at least that. And yeah, trying to get better at it, of course.
Mm-hmm. One more question. Is
Yes.
this a basic for basics basic for artists to leave your art? So um, you described your art as the whole book, and it has its own plot with characters and their possibilities, or for example the starship which goes somewhere deep into space, or so your world. How do you
Hmm.
feel mm, when you plan or build this whole world? It's like reading a science fiction book, or watching the genre movie, or what is how can you describe this process? What the start uh, part, and what is the ending? Uh, which with your work ends?
Um, Let me, for example, for a minute, switch back to this camera. Um, Honestly, this other side of discovering things, because I I never could say like, I hope you see it. I
Mm-hmm.
could never tell you that this I'm going to start to model this in any kind of way. I was kind of inspired. Okay, a circle. We know that's this many degrees. Um, and if you put one circle on another, it gives this kind of effect. When making when working with fractals, I'll say it like that, I often have to open myself up for the results that I'm going to get. And afterwards, if the result goes in the right direction, if it inspires me, if I see some kind of pattern in it that matches what I'm looking for, but it needs photo editing, it needs 3D modeling to make it just right. Um, I try to do that too, to eventually get to the end aesthetic. Uh, Try to get a end goal feeling inside, that the feeling of immersion, that the feeling of, oh yeah, this is some kind of alien technology, whatever it looks like, right? Because there is the movie Aliens by Ridley Scott, for example. The concept art is very specific, it's very special, but in other, for example, also Prometheus. There are very many movies which visually are just stunning, I think, and thinking about the visual style or the how there are millions of ways like of what you can imagine an alien spaceship could look like, but then again, that's only with the imagination that is based on things you maybe already saw or know or think that would be possible. But I see more and more in movies, for example, in games too, but in movies that they also start to explore like the unknown out there in the galaxy. It starts to look more like things that are based on formulas again. I can say, for example, a couple of examples. Big Hero 6, there's a moment in this animation movie in which they go to some part of universe thanks to a teleportation device. In this part of the universe, they see fractals, 3D Mendel, very specific Mendel bulbs, if I'm not mistaken, it's called, doing iterations, animations, and all of that is also based on math. Besides that, there is, I think, uh, Doctor Strange, if I'm not mistaken, uh, and Guardians of the Galaxy, also a part where there are um, elements of fractals. I want to show you guys, so I'll try to quickly.
I think your second
Uh,
name is Fractal Man. You. Oh,
yeah, I'm a little obsessed about it, but also like yeah, cyberpunk themes, neon visuals, science fiction. I always find it very interesting, to say the least. Um, uh, um, um, yes, for example, this is in Guardians of the Galaxy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, well, my Zoom just gave up on me. Sorry. No, this is in Guardians of the Galaxy. But this kind of visuals you are going to see very often when you work with fractals. That's why I would advise everyone who's even slightly interested in it to get into it. There is a lot to discover. This is also a very typical site. Um, uh, Let me write. Um, This scene in Big Hero 6 is based on fractals. It's this scene for anyone who has seen it. And just look at the colors. How amazing is that? And then if you think about like what are those moving things? Oh, those are it looks like biological creatures, but actually it's visuals based on math. Um, what I found really interesting. Um, yeah, that's just an example. I'm trying to say, like, I'm really glad to see that. Every time that I see those things, um, it inspires me even to find, I think how, if you can compare it example to this, how many views there can be on one particular thing, because, the fractal that you see in Big Hero 6, I have worked tons with it to learn like what does this formula do? Oh, now it becomes a rectangle. What does this formula do? Oh, it now becomes inside out or whatever. Um, and there are countless ways to look at the same thing. And I found it every time completely mind blowing actually, because there is tons to learn from. Um, there are many shapes that feel so natural in kind of way. Just like we talked before, that there is a lot of patterns in nature, but there seems to be a lot looking like nature in math too. It's like in two ways. It goes in two ways. And I always love to stumble upon those things. Um, yes, if you if you want, if you're interested, I can show you the very first pieces that I've really found a way to make it more interesting with basic things like starting from a circle, what you can do after that. One time I even like the very first uh, print art, if you can say. I just put it in Word and printed it and put it on my wall in my dormitory when I was studying. The beauty of the circle. It was very basic in the basic font made in Word, but I got inspired by it. I don't know why. I just had the feeling that I have to call it beauty of the circle and place it on my wall. Doesn't matter the whatever, that it wasn't that big or whatever. The shapes themselves are already very intriguing, I think. And there is so much to learn. There's infinite amount to learn, actually. It could be a whole its own science. Actually, it is a science. Math is a science. But if you know only a fraction of it, and if you know how to try to visualize what you feel inside, what your imagination gives you, there are people who can do it flawlessly on with oil paintings on canvas. For me, I'm very hesitant to start, even like there's no control Z to go back. And that's like a very big limitation for me. Maybe that's why I always felt very comfortable just drawing with pencil and paper, but afterwards to bring something to life, I uh, went ahead and worked in Photoshop because I always could go back a step if I messed something up. And just the same with 3D modeling, just the same with digital, any kind of artwork. Um, because I never felt like, yes, I have this some kind of talent, artistic talent in me. I find it even more interesting to find like, oh, there's beauty in math. Let me at least try to show you that it really exists, that it's really there. It's a discovery for me certainly, but I hope for the the people looking at the artwork that it's also a discovery for them. Or that's what I aim to get at.
Very good.
Um, did I show you? I'm gonna switch very quickly, or no? Maybe I'll show you first a couple of basic renders. Um,
Yes, something basics for uh, beginners or for those
um,
who at the started or starting point in
yeah.
artist way and in your fractal theme,
Um,
or for example in
start.
vector in general, as you like.
Um, basic.
uh,
I have to think a little. For me, it was all hard. There's probably so many people for who it's much more easy, let's say. Um, because if you know a little more math than me, then it will be twice as easy for you, I think.
mhm.
Uh, for me, it's a long time ago that I was really learning hardcore math. It's not like I know what all these formulas stand for. I more maybe have a better feeling of how they could influence the result, honestly. Um, just like maybe if I would paint right now with oil painting on a canvas, I know if I mix this color with this, it's gonna be maybe something similar to this color or this effect. But because I have not mastered the making of it, the making of the art piece, that I'm not completely sure about how the process will be. I'm going to back to the other camera for a second. Pieces like this I found very interesting. This is also completely based on yeah formulas, for example. And what I also actually want to say about it, most of these things are made on a application, if I'm not mistaken, that was developed by one person, and the person he stopped working on it. He had published it on a forum, and someone else had continued where he left off. Um, this is again me using uh, a result of a fractal, but then adding some special effects to make it fit my alien theme that I showed you before. Um, this is again like photo manipulation, everything that comes together. But eventually, I could make this rotate in real time, like 360 degrees, but it would take a much longer process. And I want to get better in the process because I believe that a good process can make even better end result. And the results I'm having right now are not not what I can imagine yet. Like all of us, I believe our imagination is much more richer maybe than our mastery or skill in making it. But the gap between your skill and imagination, that's something we have to maybe strive to get better at, like to diminish the gap and try to minimize it.
Mhm.
Um, yes, I can't find my. beauty of the circle, I really hoped I had placed it together with this to be able to show you guys, because it um yeah, it it just inspired me a lot when I printed it. But right now I can't find it anymore. Also, like, playing around with perspective is something interesting I find, because this is also one thing that I told you before, like putting a circle on a circle. But what if you put another formula on it again? I will give you a couple of examples for the people who are interested in do something like this. Uh, if you are strictly like uh, coming from a math background, like trying to find the formulas, or if you're more into programming, scripting, if you have a um, technical way of looking at things, uh, then these are really easy way to get into. Um, I will quickly show. I have closed the right thing. Yeah, so like I said, the software that I mainly used, like for my oldest pieces, focus, yeah, for my oldest pieces, was a free software developed by one guy I found on this forum. It's called fractalforums.com. It's moved even, like you see. It's like a really underground forum for fractal developers, but someone else continued his work, and now you can find a much newer version on mendelbilber.com, for example. It's for free software. Get into it if you're interested in by the content of what you see that I made, because there's an infinite amount of possibilities in that genre. There's a lot to explore. Besides that, there is also uh, if you if you know Cinema 4D, for example, if I'm not mistaken, I have to look. Yeah, Vectron for Cinema 4D. You can make 3D visualizations in Cinema 4D. Here are a couple of visuals that start to look more and more like things like founding Guardians of the Galaxy and this and that. Um, there, for example, this is in Cinema 4D. So Vectron in Cinema 4D, if you want to do it in Cinema 4D, 3D 3D application, 3D modeling application. Here's a very good. This is a Mandelbrot. It's a very often recognized. Yeah, if I read, uh, if you look for fractals, like this is one of the most frequently found fractals. Maybe you have seen videos in which like it zooms in infinitely. And how cool is it that you can also make it in 3D, like in 3 dimensions, and go very deep on that. And if you look very closely, you might find similarities here and there, because a lot of it is, yeah, there's a lot of it based on this. But again, I manipulate
Mm-hmm.
math to make visuals for me that fit my narrative, for example. This is really like very basic thing that is based on this. And the thing is, like, where do you go from there? That's the question, because there's so much to learn. And these are a couple of examples of plugins that I'm talking about. But again, if you're interested in like these are experiments in real time in a game engine. I was trying to see how I can implement it into them. It's Unity. It's a free game engine. There's also Blender 3D if you're interested into getting into 3D modeling. You can use the rendered 3D, the rendered fractals or the formulas, to export it into a 3D model, manipulate it in Blender, put it in Unity, uh, and uh, and then try to make your own world from it. For example, like here, this is like an interactive version of that planet that I showed you. Here again with those based on those blocks. You see,
Yes, yes.
uh, every block is a like a copy of a bigger copy of a bigger copy. You see,
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. You see, all those very tiny blocks are a smaller copy of a bigger copy of a very big copy. You see, and this is also, yeah, I learned the very basic things to be able to make things like this. Um, but with enough time and energy on my hands, I would love to really make this world in which like you could explore like different
Mhm.
um
I'm sorry.
alien
Uh,
planets. Yeah.
what is proficient ancients, or what is the first word, and what this logo means? Or maybe I can Google it, or this platform.
Sorry?
Ancients.
Sorry? Yeah, I will show you this. This is like my I just like with Beauty of the Circle, I made a poster or like cover art for my hypothetical book that I wanted to name it as Prophecy of the Ancients. That's like the where is it? The um yeah, like you saw in the concept art that there is like a story behind it. You you have like a telepathic message from a creature from another world, and it shows you a couple of things, and then try to implement like visuals like in a believable way that yes, this is another world in which things are totally different, that it looks alien, but that it's actually all based on again just math, because uh, you will find many formulas that, for example, do patterns like this. I just used it in my own narrative, trying to build an alien world based on um, like I said so many times, fractals again.
Very beautiful, and
These
Thank you.
pieces remind me broccoli.
Yes,
Broccoli.
indeed, indeed. Thank you. Yes. And you know what? Honestly, there are a couple of other pieces I have that I have not published because sometimes people say like, "Oh, it looks like a virus," but right now it's not the best time to publish those things because it looks like a virus, for example. You see, this is also a work I really like love working on. This is also very, yeah, uh this very tiny block is a tiny, yeah, tiny piece of a bigger block. That's piece of a bigger block, and that's a piece of this bigger block. And just see how mind bending it sometimes gets to play around with these formulas and try to find, yes, some realism in them. But believe me, guys, I have been experimenting a lot to be able to like bend math to get to these things, not because I'm some kind of wizard or anything. It's for me just very complex. These are very complex maths, and I'm a designer. I come from a completely other side. Probably for scientists it's much clearer or natural to like even find formulas that do specifically what they want. But right now, like I said, I'm in the process of getting better at it. I'm trying to find ways to use math to visualize things that fit my narrative. Um, this is a collection of, yeah, I want to make abstract collection of a couple of shapes to see what I could make from it. This is not with the goal of making the whole world like you saw before in the application. Yeah, this I really loved doing it because it's like I I just wanted to see where the border is between complete like fractal, very detailed things and going to more abstract things. Here it's just very plain. It becomes more plainer and plainer, more plain, and then eventually it's just a green blur, a green line on the edges. And I want to see how repetition and direction and scale can influence a work. Um, yeah.
And
Right now, yeah.
I also want to ask one more question. Uh, why I didn't see these artworks in some crypto gallery? It doesn't matter which, but so as I see, these works are done for yourself to practice your skills and
Yeah.
to master. But I think in general it can be uh, monetized, for example, and I looked in marketplace for much artists, and I think that your art is complicated, and you're professional of your deal, and I think that you can sell your artworks and make somebody else uh, enjoy it. I think it is not bad idea, and but of course you decide by yourself.
Mm.
I in
Yeah, thank you very much. I would love to uh, be able to show and share my work with other people. I would love to see someone send me um, a picture, a message like, "Is this your work? I really love it." Sometimes I do that to other people I admire, not to become immediately like friends or whatever with them, but sometimes I feel a couple of times I had like a wallpaper on my phone, for example, and then I found the artist and he was about to put his first artwork on a marketplace, for example. I felt the need to like encourage them. I was following them maybe before on Facebook or whatever or on ArtStation, but yeah, it's this inner feeling that engages us in liking an artwork, right? In valuing an an artist, his work, his effort, his knowledge. There are, like I said, many artists who inspired me so much, not by only creating, but also sharing how they did it, uh, with what tools they did it. They give out, like I said, small things like Photoshop brushes, this and that. But at the end, even when I'm working, I know that I'm using other people's discoveries to make my own.
yes, yes.
I feel obligated to also share this inspiration that I have inside of me because I cannot write you on a paper like I am so much inspired or whatever. It's sometimes very hard to put it in words. But if I can visualize it and share that image with someone else, that's worth even more, I believe.
I think it will
That's going to mean a
motivate
lot.
you to create even more amazing things, because you have 10 years of your experience. It is I think that it is a third part or a half part of your life, and
Mm.
I think it is very important. And by the way, of course, uh, you will get acquainted with uh, someone who will motivate you to move in directions you prefer the most. And please, can you give a short answer, a short list of your software? Uh, for example, as I saw you use Vectron, C4D, Mendel Barber.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
what software also? Say Unity 3D.
Yes. Okay, I'll start for the basics. Like my whole process, because like I said before, I strongly believe that the better the process, the better the end results. Honestly, Alex, I'm like looking at those canvases behind you. Did you paint these? Did you paint those canvases behind you, Alex?
Uh, this canvas is I drew, uh,
Yeah,
so
you did it yourself. Really, did you sketch before you worked on it, or you
uh,
just went with your feeling?
mm, yes, I just express the inner what is inside me. So
Yeah.
I sit behind the canvas and
Hmm.
just see a bunch of uh, let me share a bunch of those paints, and
Ah, yeah. Okay, paint use. Yeah.
and I even as a rule I even don't think what to paint. I just see,
Mm.
oh, it would be nice. So
Yeah.
okay, I'll put a
Yeah.
little.
You just go with your feeling more instead of like saying, I need specifically this has to be the end result. You're also maybe more going on the path of discovery, right?
Maybe, yes, I think
Um,
yes.
yeah. Yeah. I see. I can imagine myself like that's also the part of me for which I started doing completely this art part of me, astral origin on this nick that I'm trying to work. Uh, give place to for discovery. Just give some room for discovery because, like I said, graphic designer, I try to really separate it because there, before I have the finished product, I know what it has to have or how it should be. As a graphic designer, for a business card, for example, it's very specific. For a flyer, it's very specific. You need this information, you need this mentioned. But for art, um, I would hesitate to immediately start on a canvas, honestly. I don't feel comfortable yet with that, but that is your process. You have mastered your own feelings, and the gap between what you imagine and what you execute is maybe much smaller than it would be for me, I believe. And that's why I start, for example, my process. If I get back to the process, I start very simple with pencil and paper. I'm a
Hmm.
strong believer in that. That should be like, for me, it's the matching first step. After that, like, how many possibilities are there? You can make a picture of your sketch or scan it, try to put it in Photoshop. If you have a drawing tablet, I have a very simple one. I bought it probably, uh, yeah, I bought it, yeah, I bought it maybe 8 to 9 years ago. The drawing tablet. It's a small Wacom, small drawing tablet. But the thing is, I try to learn as much as possible with it. Just like Photoshop, I've been using it for many years, but even today, you could teach me a thing or two easily in Photoshop. Even though I have been using it for years, there are a lot of things that I don't know yet. And my goal is to try to uh, use the tools as efficiently as possible, just like you. If I could open Photoshop and completely do out of my own feeling and doing all these brush strokes, these movements that I achieve by using other tools like fractals, like 3D visuals, lighting. If I could do it just by hand, I would just love to do it maybe, but I'm completely not comfortable in that way in Photoshop. And for that, sometimes I make basic 3D scenes in, for example, before first I used 3ds Max, but now I use mostly Maya or Blender. Cinema 4D I've also used for rendering, but right now if I want to top-notch rendering, it's Maya with V-Ray for lighting, shadows, this and that. If I just do quick basic modeling, I use Blender. I try to use as much as possible free public software. I'm a supporter and a believer in open source or free software. I believe a lot of times the software that gets used by most of the people is oftentimes the easiest way to go to. And if Blender, a 3D software that once maybe should could have costed you a lot, for making a 3D animation, this and that. No, it's completely free. It's being progressed by a very active community. Um, and afterwards, you can export a 3D model, put it in Unity, uh, another free software in which you can uh, make it spin around. You can make a 360 degrees render, put it in Unity, and like you saw before, I showed you, you can make it possible to look around. But that's inside of a game. Right now, I'm also looking for ways to use the latest technology with web, for example, HTML5, to show those results inside the web browser. I would love to learn it. And if I learn it well enough, and if I get better at teaching, I could maybe also give that information to someone that could value it as much as I do. Um, so, all right, let me recap like that. Based on a sketch, I do work in Photoshop, or if it's immediately good, I try to use Illustrator to immediately have all the benefits of a vector graphic. But mostly I use Photoshop just for quick edits. Uh, I know a lot of the buttons. My process is very quick there. Afterwards, if I already know that this is the shape, this is how it should look like, I try to work in 3D modeling software. If I completely want to base my work on um, fractals or visuals based on mathematical formulas, something that I should be like open for the end result. If it matches the style, I just go with the fractal way, like I showed you before. But I just find it unbelievable and very crazy that this free software that I made, most of those fractal-based visuals, is made, if I'm really not mistaken, by one person, and that he could not continue doing it. There's a lot of things happening in our lives. Just like how I would love maybe also to post almost every day something on social media, but that has not been my focus yet. But that's also something I have to learn. I'm not very familiar to that side yet, and we have to use the tools that exist already. In the future there will be tools that we cannot imagine right now even, but how much are you advancing if you're not advancing at all? I know a couple of softwares, this and that, but still, very often, if I find other artists that try to teach you something, there is a lot of value they are giving out. There is a lot to learn. There's a lot to let yourself grow by learning things, and I'm very thankful for a lot of people in the community for um, showing people around, giving away knowledge. That could be in a save file for whatever, a 3D model, Photoshop assets, textures. They could take photos of themselves, like photo reference to draw over. There's a lot of good things happening in the community, with developers, with artists. There's a lot of things available, and I hope to one day contribute to that. But also, like how we are having this conversation right now. We found each other through a community of artists on one specific platform, on one specific post, and I hope that in the future there can be a lot of connections and network effects, because this is value that we give each other. Um, I believe it's an important part of being part of this community.
Mhm. So I think that someone will be interested in your works and maybe in some help. So how they could message you for some help? It can, of course, some lessons may be paid. Or so. What is the media social network? It is better to follow you and message you.
Um, yeah, for the time being, I only have an Instagram page and a Twitter profile. I think the Twitter profile will be the first best place
Mm-hmm.
to get things started. But in the future, I will build my own website, to try to showcase the things I make really in the way that I believe that will impact people the most. Like I said, like a 360 degrees panoramic view of some kind of visual, but then in the web browser without having to download anything or whatever. And if I found the an efficient way in the process to get the end result, I would be glad to share the knowledge behind it, of course. Yeah, I'm really a strong believer. I think I think you've heard me many times talking about collaborating with other people, because I really believe um, it gives so much value to not only them, to your work, but your future work as well. And just like I told you, I gave you names, I gave you software, individual names that had such an influence on me that I'm more than happy to give their names to you so you can learn and grow from. Yeah, there's a lot of free value that people are giving out, and we have to be thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. And can you also say some a few words uh,
Yes.
for those who only start in artist way, not only vector but in general, what they should look for?
Honestly, I was I have taken a long time to find some kind of my own style. I'll call it my own style, my own thing. Because I was constantly getting g coming in touch with new technologies, with new tools. I was looking, but in whatever tool it was, I was looking for my own kind of style that I would uh, that more describe the style describes more about me than that I can describe more about the style. Because like if you would ask me why is this in that color, I could not really give you a specific answer. I just go like you also did with your feeling, with your inspiration from your imagination. Those are like signals we get from another place, right? It's not like you can control it completely. Maybe like right now I want to have so much inspiration in this field, make very specific this. Sometimes you go with the feeling, but I had a lot of times the feeling that I haven't found the feeling or whatever yet. Like, is this it? Is this inspiration? Like, am I doing the right thing? I was constantly looking for um improvement of like, ah yes, I am doing the right thing. But then again, I have not showed so much of my work to get proper feedback from. I love to get feedback from people. I love to give feedback to people if they are open for it. But a lot of times I believe that like I was not sure that the thing I made is in the way I wanted to. Instead of just making it and trying to progress from the things you made and you learn from growing. I believe that's the best thing for growth. If a small child wants to learn to ride a bike, it he or she might fall a couple of times before they get good at it. And I think that it's a very natural process. But not only by trying to like know if you're doing the right things just by getting some kind of number like I did so much on 10, I did so good. Sometimes it's much less specific. Sometimes you just have to make an artwork and learn things from that and put your knowledge and your um, progression into the next work without hesitating like, is this the real thing? Is this like finished? Because most of my things I label them like work in progress. Like I name it really, I put it in the name like this is test so much, example this much, without completing the whole project. Um, Sometimes I can like remember very specifically this project I made until this step. This model I have modeled, I have textured, but I have not made any shader or material or whatever connection. Um, I think, for example, if we take like one of the big guys, Beeple, he creates full 3D visual scenes every day.
Mm-hmm.
But one day you have to be good enough to make any 3D scene to have it every day. He honed his skills, his process so well. He knows it so efficiently that he can produce an artwork. He publishes an artwork every day. Um, I believe doing it more frequently has a very big impact. But also sometimes you can take you a lot more time to make a masterpiece, to go really deeply into your idea, into your inspiration. But in the beginning, progress makes you grow. What you do often, you get better at. Sorry that this is a lot longer than a couple of words, but I needed to give some back story behind my words. I believe it gives much more impact to whatever I say because it's all my own perspective. There are so many perspectives on the same subject by so many people in the world, and that's the way I look at progression, growth. becoming better, mastering your own self and your own skill.
Thank you, man. Uh, Great answer, and I think for those who only
Yeah.
begins, and of course for myself, it was very useful. And the last question I want to ask you: what is the one book you would recommend, not for artists but for humans? So it may be a fiction book, or some book for about art, any book.
Mhm. I really have to think about that for a second.
The first book you remind. Okay, let's change phrase.
Honestly,
Yes.
yeah. No, honestly, there was one book that I immediately thought of. Not because it's the most specific for artists or whatever. No, because it's about, yeah, in the title there is one specific thing, but the thought behind it I strongly believe in. And if you can summarize it, eventually you probably have heard this also, like the thing that you focus on, it grows. If you focus yourself on one specific thing, you can get better at it. And if the only thing you want in the world is this one thing, eventually, if you don't give up, you will achieve it. And from the moment that if you say that you will not achieve it, you are right. And if you never say that you won't achieve it, so if you always say that you will achieve it and you keep on trying it, you will eventually arrive there where you want to arrive. I strongly believe that there is some kind of natural law in the universe. I can't say a lot about it, but I was very intrigued by this thought alone. In this book, it's called, I will quickly say it, Think and Grow Rich. The getting rich, it's a very nice extra, but think and grow to become something. That is really crazy for me. I received the book as a birthday present, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it was an eye opener for me because yes, there is the getting rich part is one thing, but most of the book is not even about getting rich. Most of the book is about what you focus on grows. If you dedicate your life to getting better at making art and you keep on doing that, no matter the struggles in your life, I believe that you will become better at it. You open up yourself to grow into something that you will eventually become. And in this book, eventually it goes about like getting rich, this and that. But in general, I could have, there are pages with very specific, deep going, like philosophical subjects. I could never formulate any of those sentences any better that I found in that book, for example. And especially everyone finds something in that book that they like because religious people would think, in this book, this explains my religion also explains this in this book, this and that. But the general natural law that what you um, focus on grows I found in that book in like 10 different ways explained. And then only I started to get the feeling like, maybe there are laws of nature that we don't see, don't feel. They are nowhere written in any law book, but maybe they do exist without us acknowledging it completely. But if you look in autobiographies of people who achieve a lot, or find information about people who achieve a lot, oftentimes they share similar insights, ideas. Like, I only became better when becoming better is the only thing that I want could do. Um, like, when what I'm about to do is the only thing that I could aim for in my life. That I would give anything away to do this. Oftentimes, those people are the ones who get better in whatever, in sports, in making amazing art pieces, and making amazing products for people. I have heard many big people talk about this idea, and honestly, it was the first book I thought about. Uh, Again, because it you can implement the knowledge very broadly. It doesn't matter what kind of profession, what kind of interest you have. There are very general laws described in the book that I never stopped to think about. Like, if I saw a book, someone would say to me like, "Buy this book, Think and Grow Rich." I would think like he's trying to set me up to get rich. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would maybe not be completely open to what he's trying to say or sell me at that moment. But I got the chance to receive it as a present. I was not like closed off or anything. My mind was open for knowledge, and somehow I remembered a lot of things that I saw before from other people. And Yes, it's a really general book. It's totally not art specific. Um, I think a couple of people might like it.
Thank you, man. You highly motivated not only myself, but I think and Artyom and other listeners.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
I think.
thanks
Mhm.
a lot for talking.
Hmm.
It was very interesting journey for us, and thank you.
And you are the man who who mm, the man which you described recently. So the man who uh, make makes better himself every day. So and this is in fact this is the only thing we have to do in our life to become uh, professional in own deals. It doesn't matter art, it's or industry, speciality, or anything else. Thank you, man. We are very grateful for this conversation. You spent 2.5 hours and
Oh, it's been awesome.
and share
Yeah, it's been awesome.
and shared your artworks, and for me it is discovery because in Instagram, for example, I saw only one artwork, a space tiger, um,
Yeah.
and
I didn't even talk about that one because there I didn't use immediate fractals and that. I used a couple of theories as reference, like we talk about Mona Lisa and golden ratio. Right now I'm really on my path to bring how amazing would it be if there is an amazing artwork, and I could tell you like this is 90% based on mathematical formulas. How crazy is that? I would love to eventually get there. But right now I'm on my beginning path. I was with Lunar Tiger. I was experimenting with color, with theories, and I want to turn my theory knowledge into practical knowledge by sharing my art pieces, for example. Because in the future, you could a lot of things that I showed you, like basic renders, I can copy and send you the code. You will get exactly the same result. How crazy is that? Just because it's based on mathematical formulas. I love that fact. It's not only, yeah, the raster image is an export, but the true formulas behind it, it's still mathematical. We don't get to see that often, also with vector graphics, but one day I would love to share a scene like this is the code for this graphic. Now go ahead and try to make it your own. Try to experiment with it, try to see what you can do with it. I'm looking forward to share my work in that aspect too. I think that would be interesting for me.
Okay, so I think that um, it's time to finish because I feel uncomfortable that I spent somebody's time too much. I planned 1 hour.
No, I would love to share even more, honestly. You remember when I asked you like how much time do I have? That was more than an hour ago, right? And then I just went completely by it. No, honestly, I would love to share even more because right now I didn't go deep enough, honestly, as I wanted to. I would even love to show you, share some Photoshop layers, this and that. But honestly, I need to document my progress too. Um, just if you can imagine that I didn't publish a lot of the finished work, maybe you can also believe that I also didn't take snapshots of the process to later share it. You see, I have to focus on that too. Not only sharing, I'm obligated to share the finished work, but also take snapshots because I know for myself that I love seeing the process of the artists that I follow and admire to see how they get to the final piece, their inspiration, their feeling about it. And I'm also glad you guys shared about similarities that we also like see that there is math and formulas all around us, and it's up to us to find their connection. Um, yeah.
I it will be. Let me see. I will feel proud of to collaborate with you. I think
Mm,
that I try to make an a vector in Adobe Illustrator, for example.
mm-hmm,
Maybe
mm-hmm.
as abstract lines as you saw, and I will send you. And if you have time,
Mm-hmm.
you can of course transform, add or add your vision in other words.
And I can do music for the.
Yes, and Artyom can.
How awesome would that be? I mean, how awesome would that be? Just by thinking about it, I'm already excited. No, it's really cool. I'm also remotely collaborating. That's a skill I think all of us could use the benefits from getting better at collaboration remotely. Um, and the end result, let's try to impress ourselves, and by doing that, maybe we have a chance at impressing someone else that they like the artwork too. No, it's really awesome. I'm like I told you before, I'm also interested in music, doing interaction between real-time music and visuals. I love the connection that they can bring together. That's why music videos oftentimes was also very inspiring for me. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to collaborate with you guys, and also it's really cool to see like from different backgrounds we come together, discuss the same subjects. It gives a lot of depth in to the whole scene actually.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
And the final point, I will repeat the Instagram of our guest,
Yeah.
astral.origin. Am I right?
Yes, that's my Instagram profile. Soon you'll be able to find me at astralorigin.com with all the links and that. But right now I'm only on Instagram and Twitter is also similar, Astral Origin. You'll find me.
Okay, man.
Contact me there. Tell me which artwork you like the most, which I should publish or work further on because, like I told you, a lot of them are work in progress for me. I'm looking forward to publishing them.
I will overlook the video and will see for works if you're interested in to. But in general, all works your must be published. So
Mm.
I think it's your own viewing. Uh,
Mhm.
it's your vision. So for publishing. The only thing I can say that thanks a lot, man, and it's time to finish because, as I said, too much time I spent uh, for from yourself.
No, it's
We
cool, guys.
together with Artyom.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to see what kind of feedback we get, what the community thinks of it, and where we can go from here. There's a lot to explore.
Mhm. Okay, man. Thanks.
Same,
Thank you very much, guys.
same to me.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.